evening, and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 357th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. We haven't had this guest on for a while, and it's totally my bad, but we're so excited to welcome him back, and so excited to our countdown towards this year's PCA trade show. But before I get to formal introductions of our guest of honor tonight, I do have to thank the people that make this show possible. And that, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of our good friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Check out all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, thanks to our good friends at Gran Habano Cigars. If you are checking us out on Facebook Live, like we broadcast almost every Sunday night, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, much to the chagrin of our guest tonight, you are tuning into us courtesy of our partners in Video Broadcasting Foundation Cigar Company. Nick Melillo is a well-known cigar maker in the premium cigar industry. He's the founder and owner of Foundation Cigar Company, which produces a range of high-quality, handcrafted cigars. His values include quality, consistency, balance, and flavor. Check out our good friends at foundationcigars.com today. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel, ELOSOFUMAR, as we do a replay on our video broadcast as well. And welcome, everybody. This is our 357th take. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome in our special guest this evening, sponsored by United Cigar. Smoke one today and start a living united. It's Mr. Casey Haugen, Crux Cigars. Casey, how are we doing tonight?
Bear, great to have you. 357, huh?
Yeah. And you were on take 68. That was your first appearance.
Take 68.
Yeah, so a long time ago.
Oh wow. That is a few years.
Yeah. You've been on a couple times in between that too, but it has been a while since.
I was gonna say I thought I did it more than once before.
Yeah, you've done it more than once. So, in fact, I think actually take 68 actually wasn't your first. That was your second, because I think you did it twice in basically my first full calendar year of doing the show. So
I believe you.
But it has been a while, and I'm so excited to have you back. So thank you so much for joining us and everything. So, we're gonna get through all things Crux Cigar and everything. So, but I have a really random question to start off the evening. But what is your favorite kitchen appliance? I know that sounds really random. I just got the new Ninja Crispy air fryer.
Does it have to be an appliance or a kitchen? Any kitchen tool?
Any kitchen tool. I'm totally open for the conversation.
I'm really in love with my global knives.
Okay.
I've got the chef's knife, the bread knife, the kitchen knife, the steak knife. I just love the global knife set that I've continually collected from the time I bought the first, an 8-inch chef to a paring knife to a carving. I mean, I've got thousands of dollars worth of knives that I will never stop, because I feel like the happiest part I was of last year when I bought new steak knives, they were all global steak knives.
Nice. That's awesome.
But
I didn't know.
Appliances can come and go, but those knives, I'm gonna die with them.
I didn't know. I guess I just didn't know that you did that much cooking, that you kind of got into the whole knives thing. That's cool.
I think it was about 10 or 12 years ago. I was actually talking to a chef buddy of mine, and I just said, "Hey, I want to start cooking, because when I get home from on the road, I don't want to go eat out. I want to eat better, because we eat so poorly when we travel on a daily basis, you know."
Oh yeah.
You try to do your best to, not eat garbage. But then when I was like, I'm going to cook. So I just said, where do I need to start? He goes, go get yourself a couple of knives, get yourself a couple of good pots. I mean, I got the Hexclad pots and pans. I don't think they're the best thing in the world, but I've been using them for years, and they're fantastic. But just go buy good tools, start there, and then just have fun with it and experiment for yourself. And I think then COVID came, and I was cooking a lot for me and my girlfriend, and now it's just one of those things where we love to sit around and experiment together, pass and fail. We're cooking for ourselves, and it's one of those things where we really just want to enjoy good, healthier, clean food that we can go to the grocery store, and more importantly, I say we get to have better food than we would at a restaurant for half the price.
There you go. Fantastic. Well, that's cool. I had no idea that you cook, man. We could have a whole other slew of things to talk about later, but that's cool. We can
I
always
love it.
finish.
Like today, we were doing sushi hand rolls today for dinner.
Okay.
Um, we do a lot of that. 'Cause I'm big into sushi, but we got a really couple good fish markets around here that we just go buy everything you could possibly need, and you just do hand rolls because it's harder to make the sushi roll look pretty. But if you tuck it into a you know a piece of well, I'm forgetting what it's called, the rice paper, um, and you just roll it up like an ice cream cone, and it tastes delicious.
Nice. Yeah, I've had those a couple. I've had those at a couple sushi places. I've never tried, but is it, you said it's easier than doing the roll?
Way easier. It's literally
Hmm.
it's you're gonna take three bites and start again when you start with the seaweed paper or the rice paper, whatever. There's a couple different kinds you can use. Um, but you just roll it up like an ice cream cone and stuff everything you want in and eat it. Start with the rice. Rice is the most important piece of that, which was the hardest until you just go by the cheating version of the, instant sticky rice,
Right, right.
which is not nearly as good of the best rice I've ever made, but way better than some of the rice I've made. So,
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean I love to cook, so it's that's totally my bag. The hex clad pans, you said they're not the best. Like, do
no,
they?
I'm not saying they're the greatest thing in the world. They're good. They're very good. I mean, I like them. They work well. They distribute heat very well. Have followed a lot of Gordon Ramsay's, recipes and stuff that he's done over the years. So I really probably just jumped on that wagon when he did them. And unfortunately, because I live in, major cities that have high rises, I haven't lived in a house in 12 years. I've lived in condos, so I don't get the barbecues, I don't get the eggs, I don't get the smokers. So you have to be creative when it comes to cooking meat. So that he was one of the first guys that I started watching that was doing like pan frying steaks.
Right.
And then you can do the cast iron steaks. You can do whatever. An air fryer pork chop, which sounds crazy. The first time I heard somebody say they air fried a pork chop, they're not crazy.
No, it's fantastic.
Um, but no, it's uniquely different because you do want to eat well and you can go buy good food, and when you're not feeding a family of a ton of people, you're feeding you and your significant other, and you can go almost fine dine, it feels like, for a fraction of the price at home if you get into it, and we enjoy it.
Nice. Fantastic. Well, yeah, I've been looking at hex clad pans, and I was just I'm
I know
wondering if
Jeff
they're
has
worth
them.
it.
I have them. I
Okay.
like them. I think that they're best pans I've ever had, but I don't couldn't tell you a better. Like, I mean, I'm not a pan expert by any means. It's just what I have because I knew they were better than the cheap Costco box that I bought probably 15 years ago that gave me 9 pans for 99 bucks.
Wow.
And then it got to a point where we were like, I need some pans. What should I get? And it's kind of
Nice.
where I ended. And I don't have anything wrong with them, but I wouldn't take my word on being a
How long
pan
have you had them,
expert.
you said?
3 years?
Okay. Cool. And they're still solid then.
No, that's not true. Yeah, that is true. Probably true. I think Jeff had him longer. So Jeff did like him. So no, he had him first. Yeah, he had him first. And then he goes, I
Okay.
like him. I probably just got him.
Sweet.
But now I have all of them.
Nice.
Ones you don't use.
Yeah, of
I have
course.
the,
Well,
the
you
baby walk. The baby walk is phenomenal.
okay.
Oh, I love that. Probably my favorite one.
Yeah, you have to buy everything, even if they're ridiculous, because it's not a good kitchen unless you have gadgets you never use. Like that's what I try to
Well, we
say.
have to be a little bit more particular because we're not living in a mansion like yours with the size of, space you have in your kitchen. Um, So we have to make sure it fits. I've had to get rid of things over the years. Even when you move from place to place, you're like, wow, I mean, you go from, I mean, I think the biggest place I've lived in is like 1,500 square feet because they're all high, 1,700 square feet, all condos. So they're all
Goodness.
high, you know.
Yeah, yeah, you got me there. That's much
But that doesn't count the
simpler than
gym that I have downstairs, the putting green, the hitting bay, the tennis court. Like they're all here. We got a pool, we have a beach
right.
or a intercoastal view. I mean, it's gorgeous, but our current living space is
Yeah,
probably,
you got the amenities. You just yeah, it's not,
yeah.
you
This
know,
morning we woke up, played tennis, and then had a day, and then went and put it on the putting green and practiced my chipping, and now I'm back up here doing the interview, having a glass of wine.
nice. Well, speaking of a nice something nice, I would like to light up my first cigar tonight. And it's
I
become
really
tradition.
wanted to smoke with you. I was
Mhm.
trying to get light on my balcony, which if anybody in my building is listening, I never smoke on my balcony because it's violation. So I've never done it. But I was going to, but I couldn't get enough light for this camera. So unfortunately I had to move inside.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry about that, but the lighting is great, Casey. But I appreciate it. But I've got four cigars here for you to choose from. You're going to pick my cigar for me tonight. That's kind of
Okay.
become our
I
tradition.
heard some of your sponsors. You got some good sponsors with those cigars.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. So we've got a Crux Epicure Maduro Toro. The follow up to one of my other cigars that I have, the Crux Epicure, and I have it in the Corona Gorda size.
In Connecticut.
Yes, and I have the Crux Guild in the Toro size, 6x50, and then the Crux Epicure Habano, which is the latest release of the Epicure series, and I have it in the Robusta, which is a 5x50.
I'm gonna pick that one only because that is the
Okay.
cigar I smoke by far the most.
Okay.
The Epicure Habano to me, literally when it came out, when there's some good stories about when Jeff was blending it, we were down doing quality control and picking the final blend about how I just said, I don't care if you like the cigar, I want them all. Um, we should order a million of them if we sell them, great. I think this is a million cigars, but I'll smoke them. It hits me in
Nice.
every way. It's an everyday, all day for me. Um, which was what I had between I pulled this out. This was my little bag that I grabbed that I had been in my thing. I had two little packs. I had obviously our new release with me, the Marblehead, just because I always have those now. But then literally here was the bag that I had.
Oh, nice.
Limitada and two Habanos. The Passport, I have not been religiously smoking them because we're selling them, and then trying to stockpile them. So we're making more. We've had two shipments come in of those, and that's kind of the lead in, sell through, little bit of back stock, get the samples out. And then when the third one really comes in, I will probably turn to smoking the heck out of that cigar. But until that happens, we have plenty of other ones that I love.
Nice. I had a Limitada the other day. Probably a couple months ago. That was had about 2 years of age on it, and man, that thing still had some body and heft to it. It was fantastic. Really, really, really,
I
really
think I
great
think
cigar.
it's just the unique amount of tobaccos that are in there that allows that wrapper. And I really like this the show exclusive we do that's like kind of like the Robusto box press. Um, I don't know. I think this cigar to me is really creamy, really nutty, complex. But that's what I smoke. I should say as more of a nightcap versus if I'm going to smoke two, three, four cigars in a day. I just pretty much rip Habano Robustos all day.
Nice, nice. Um, was there what when you guys ended up releasing this? I mean, there was that that natural dichotomy on the retail shelf. You had the Connecticut already, which was the premier release in the series, and then you came out with the Maduro, which was an excellent follow-up. So you had that natural Maduro, Connecticut Maduro, typical side by side. Was there any was there any worry that I mean, obviously not for you, you said you just smoke them all, but like from a business aspect that the this Habano may not fit in perfectly, even though I mean symmetrically it does, because I mean it fits right in between like the way
Sure.
it
No, here's just
looks and
it's
everything.
it's because the three cigars are so different. I think even if you could literally wake up, go Connecticut Habano Maduro every day and have three unique different cigars. So adding the Habano, we knew we needed a Habano in that blend, or in that line because the chassis that Jeff always says, the base, the filler binder is such a good, unique Condega filler that we use that Jeff is in love with, that goes through all three blends. And then this Habano wrapper, I mean, it comes from Plasencia. That's one of two of our cigars that is all Plasencia tobacco. And if you're going to use Jalapa Habano, I mean, and that's their medio, it's it's about as good as it gets. And I was absolutely in love with that tobacco. So you put it all together, and we took some time to get it to market. I mean, we hadn't come out with a brand new release blend between 2018 when the Maduro came out. And then we went through some different things with like a rebrand and some packaging and a couple of size releases. So we were still working, but we didn't come out with another cigar for 5 years.
Right.
So the Habano came out in 2023, and it just kind of had that special feeling that it was going to be a home run for us, and it has proven very much so. It is our number one selling line now. Um,
Oh, wow. Okay.
so the first year it was it loaded in. I mean, we did have time to pre-sell it, so we got a good initial launch for us. But it is our number one selling line, which I was surprised that it surpassed the Connecticut, which is our number two selling line. The Bull and Bear would be our number three. The Maduro's number four. So like I look at those like I didn't think anything could touch the Connecticut for us, but year two it passed it. So not a bad second year for that cigar. And I mean the Bull and Bear is all time our number one selling cigar. I mean it's been around for 12 years.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say
it had 11 years,
head
10 year,
start.
10, it had 10-year head start. Not that we were selling nearly the amount of cigars we were selling in 2014 as we're in 2024, but you know, I think they all do well. I mean, we're a company that doesn't come out with a lot of new things, just for the sake of coming out with something new. Um, so when it comes out, I think our retailers after over a decade, they're like, yeah, we'll take it. They understand that we put our time and due diligence into something that is going to play in our portfolio, that is not going to cannibalize another product that we already have, or a price point that we're trying to meet. So you come out with something infrequently enough, and they're just have the trust behind us with our customers that say a Crux customer is going to like this cigar. So sell in is easier for us when we come out with new products. And then the sell through obviously comes through the fact that obviously when Jeff's blending it, we're buying tobacco from some of the best companies in the world. We're rolling in some of the best factories in the world. So you have a lot going right there as we continue to grow, and which is I'm sure we'll get into kind of the trajectory of where everything is going as well. But and that's kind of proving of what's happening for us as we continue to grow.
Yes. Um, Gosh, we went through all that, and then I hadn't even introduced this as the main segment for tonight. So let's let's kick off tonight's major point, which is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars. From the fertile lands of Honduras, George Rico and his family have put together very best vintages for you. Yes, you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like Corojo Number 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary to special projects like Zulu Zulu, Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making the pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted, Gran Habano cigars. Man, this cigar is making me salivate. Holy crap, it's just like lighting up my
I'm a
mouth here.
fan.
It's
Thank you. I do have to kind of cut back to when you took a dig in your intro about that to my chagrin that it was at 10:30, but normal people are sleeping. Like normal people that wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock and go to work.
right.
That's when we go to bed. So he was saying, I said, what time? And he goes, 9:30. And I was like, what time zone? Because this was one of those ones. I took a nap before this.
Thank you very much.
Literally took a nap before that. I told my girlfriend, I go, you need to wake me up before you go to bed. And she goes, what time is your thing? I said, it starts at 10:30. And she goes, I will be sleeping. So, but I also wanted to bring up the fact that you have a little prettier studio, but this is, I guess, it looks like my take on Between Two Ferns. And it is actually not two ferns. It is my faux Claude Monet glass art behind me, as well as we have a money tree, and I should know what that one's called, but I don't remember.
Well, it looks gorgeous. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say the view's fantastic and spectacular.
I'm a big plant guy now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
I think it's when you
It's
get your
cheaper than
first
dogs
home,
and cats.
well, you can travel with plants.
Right.
I mean, you can leave them at home. You don't have to. Yeah,
Right.
they're way cheaper. I think it was because when you start decorating a place and you want color, you want art, you move into your first, let's call it your first own place. I was probably 30 years old when I actually moved into my first own place, my own one bedroom condo. Um, after having roommates and whatnot, and you really don't decorate it at all. And
Hmm.
then you go buy a couple dumb paintings and you're like, yeah, that's it. You don't really decorate. And then you continue to grow. And then you find people that know more and you see designers and you have, whatever. And I just feel like they bring life to the place. I think, agriculture is really unique. Obviously, we're in the tobacco business, but adding unique plants around, which I'm not the best knowledge of them, but you buy ones that you can leave alone for 3 weeks. You water them, don't touch them. They actually want less. They want less attention, so you don't kill them. I think I've only killed one plant so far. I killed this beautiful fiddle a couple years ago because I overwatered it.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
but but now I have two. We have two beautiful fiddles here, and I have a lot of different plants around. They just, I don't know. They're better than putting up dumb art. Other than I feel like that might be dumb art, but I love it. Um,
That's a beautiful
So
painting.
this is my take between two ferns. So if this goes a little sideways, I'm gonna blame my backdrop.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know where I developed it. It's not like we did. I mean, we had tomatoes. We grew a lot of tomatoes when I was a kid, but it's also one of the easiest things you can grow. Um, but other than that, like I turned out to have like this pretty good green thumb, and I don't know where that came from. Yeah, we have plants and herbs and vegetables and stuff like that, and
Which is
got a
what I would
lemon
love to
tree.
do. I would love to have a little herb garden, but again, we have a balcony.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and they have those at-home ones that do the automatic watering and all that stuff, but that kind of takes the guesswork out of it. Doesn't feel like you're really doing anything.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately spend the money on fresh herbs instead of growing them, even though when you grow three types of basil plants and you get to use that basil and then the plant dies, you had at least one good meal with it. It's awesome.
There you go. I've been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, Casey, because like you have this very unique personality that is very that I've
We
found
call
it
it acquired taste.
sure. Well, I mean my thing with Jeff all the time was like I was like I really love Casey. I'm just not sure if Casey really loves me. He says if he's making fun of you and everything like that, he likes you. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, then I guess that makes it easier." Um but no, you have this personality that I've found that's kind of indicative of people who've played sports at a high level, which you did. You played baseball and and everything. But what did playing baseball at a high level of competition and the discipline and everything? What did it teach you about the cigar business? Like what did you take from your playing days and how do you apply it on your day to day?
Well,
Something I've always wanted to ask you.
I think strategically, when you grow up playing team sports, you have that camaraderie where you have a lot of brothers. Even though I have a brother who's my best friend, but like you have a lot of people that are there to call you out when you do dumb shit. So that's kind of like where it comes from. The love of, nitpicking on your buddies is like, if we don't talk to you or you don't kind of like give jabs to your buddies, like they're not really your friends because you don't care about them.
Mhm.
So when your friends did dumb stuff or your teammates, like you got on them. So and then going into college athletics and then going into independent minor league baseball, like having my dad as a baseball coach my whole life. I mean, baseball specifically, I think the biggest thing that I learned from it was that overcoming failure is the game of life. I mean, baseball, they always say if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Which now if you fail 7 out of 10 times in regular world, you're probably, you know, not.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't
it
really
makes you
apply to
it
real
makes you
life.
overcome failure because baseball is a game of failure. Owning a business, working with businesses, working startup businesses, like we fail all the time. We fail every day at something.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
And I think in the first 5 years, I shouldn't say the first couple years, it was like more celebration of our successes due because they were few and far between. Like major
Hmm.
successes, meaning like we were really excited when, we went to our first trade show and we opened 25 accounts in 4 days. Like for us, that was astronomical. That was amazing.
Hmm.
And that was a huge stepping stone, which That's where I don't know if you were working there, but one of our first original accounts was from 2024, or 2014, excuse me, where we met. But it
Yeah.
teaches you to overcome those obstacles of failure. And if you drive and preserve and have the that's a terrible word to pronounce right now, perseverance, to continue to get up and go to work every day, to have practice with purpose, to have a plan strategically, which then I think it kind of works towards business. And then you become addicted to doing business. You're addicted to going to work. Like you wake up every day and it wasn't a job. It was just something we did, and
Hmm.
when we started the company, 2014, when my cousin started the company and brought me on before we launched so we could have a presence and a sales team and start building things. And it was a small team wearing a lot of hats, and we still are a very small team wearing a lot of hats. But as we continue to grow, you overcome obstacles every day. Back to baseball, every pitch. There's people that are better than you. There's people that are bigger than you. There's people that have more money than you. I mean, you look at the Major League Baseball, which is the most lopsided professional sports league in the history of the world, with no salary caps and difference of this, the money teams are being spent versus teams that have a chance to win. I mean, when there's a guy that coached in Oakland one year that they made a movie out that made how many hundreds of millions of dollars just because
Hmm.
he didn't spend money and he came out and he did something a little bit differently. That's the underdog story.
Right.
And that's kind of where you got to look at yourself until you become a champion. And one day we'll get there, but until then, we're going to be an underdog story. We're going to be a small company just grinding, minding our own business, trying to make great cigars at an economical price.
So it's funny. God, man, it's like you're reading my mind. It's great that you quoted Moneyball there. In Moneyball, he talks about, there's a flashback when a scout sitting at his kitchen table and he's saying, "Hey, Billy, we're all told that there's a time in our lives when we can't play the kids' game anymore. Some of us are told at 12, some of us are told at 50, at 40, but we're all told that we're done," kind of thing. I've had that same talk with my son who's taken up baseball as well too, because he always asks about my quote unquote playing days, which my playing days would be laughable to the career you had in comparison. But I mean, there was a point where you stopped playing, um, where you faced that moment literally, and made the decision. Um,
I didn't really make the decision.
okay,
They made it for me
gotcha.
because
Right,
at
it's
that
either made
at
for
that
us, right?
point, you get fired enough and then not rehired. I was on 5 teams in 2.5 years.
Oh
And
goodness,
I'll just tell you, every one of those teams fired me. They call it releasing then, but let's just
right?
call a spade a spade. They
Yeah,
fired me, every one of them. And you didn't care. Yeah, it sucked for the day. There was a team that I remember being a part of in Winnipeg that I really was really excited about, and I got released early, and I was like, man, that sucked. But I found a new team.
right.
I was on a new team within 10 days. They actually called me up as I'm driving literally from Winnipeg to, at the time I was driving to Fort Worth, Texas, from Winnipeg to Fort Worth, Texas, to go sign with the Shreveport Sports, who were playing in Fort Worth. And I'll never forget, as a person that wants to deal in, morality and ethics, and like I didn't have an agent at the time, and he would have probably told me, or she would have probably told me something different, but I was in Wichita. I remember pulling over because there was tornadoes. And my mom called me. This is back before GPS, really.
Right.
Like I was one of the first people to, I think, buy a Garmin because I was literally getting released from all these baseball teams and I needed to figure out how to get to the next one. But it was MapQuest, printed stacks of papers, and I'm driving from Winnipeg to Fort Worth.
Right.
And I get a call back from Winnipeg after I'd been released, and they tried to offer me my job back because they had
Oh
an injury
wow.
in a couple of days I was gone, yada yada yada. Well, I had told them that I had already signed. I technically hadn't, but I had already verbally committed to the team in Shreveport. So for me, it was already committed. Now that ended up not being the right decision in the world of business because the business would have been going back to the team that was paying me more money as well as had seen me play and gave me a shot and wanted me to be a starting catcher versus going to a team that didn't know a lot about me, needed a backup catcher, and I went and sat on the bench, you know? But I guess I was looking at it from the perspective of the way, you want to run a business, the way you want to run your life. Who are you? You can only look yourself in the mirror. Doesn't matter what happens around you. If it's unethical or what people put, you don't do something because other people think it's okay. You have to do what you think
Hmm.
is okay. And I had verbally committed to that company or to that team, and I was going to go do that because that's what I said. I was
Right.
thankful for the opportunity when they gave it to me, and just like business, when you have in a business where we're in, a lot of it's handshake deals. Like there's a lot of people, yeah, we have some contracts, we have some different things, but a lot of it is we just kind of go with that old, shake the hand, let's get this done. We're gonna just respect each other.
Hmm.
Um, and you're only as good as your work. If you get your stuff done, you can be the person that you're gonna say you're gonna be. You're gonna make mistakes, but as long as you say, hey, my bad, I screwed up, but this is what we're trying to do to make that right, it doesn't matter. People are willing to forgive. And I think that's kind of what that started when it comes to the work ethic that you learn early on in life, instilled in from my parents. My mom was an elementary school teacher all the way
Hmm.
for
Yeah, I remember.
hundreds of years that she did that. And then my dad was a college baseball coach, so being around that education, like they instill that, then going into baseball, then going into business with Jeff, and there couldn't be anybody that's has better ethics and morality than Jeff. I mean, he instills that in people every day.
You know, just to go back to this that the moment of, well, many moments of having to reinvent yourself essentially by having to, pick yourself up, not not look back, not look down on yourself and move forward and everything. Did you pull from that experience when I I won't say it was controversial by any stretch, but like the rebranding that you guys went through, I mean, it was an endeavor. It was an overhaul. And it wasn't as quick as some of these decisions that you had to make in your baseball career, granted, but they're still pretty dang crucial. I mean, did you pull from that experience or was it an entirely different experience, completely unique?
Well, to do the rebranding in 2019, so we've been on the market for 5 years. Um, and we just were kind of putzing along. We thought we were doing well. We had a nice little business. We were selling some cigars, but it wasn't really a business yet. I mean, we're only selling, three, 400,000 cigars, and it was basically me traveling around the country. We had a warehouse employee. We had tried some brokers. It just never worked out. So it was literally me, boots on the ground, trying to build a territory, um, trying to get feedback, trying to figure out what we're going to do. And to go into the rebranding with Jeff, I mean, it took us over a year to really commit to it
Right.
because if we were going to do it, we wanted it to be right. So we did market research. We hired a team. We hired a design company. Really took we're going to spend the money and then we're going to vote. We're going to go through the process. Um, but we knew we needed to make a change because our branding wasn't consistent. It wasn't clean. It was ugly. People didn't know it said Crux. You couldn't even read our logo. Um, it just didn't have a scalable feel to get to where we wanted to be as a company, and it didn't really fit home. We were very fortunate that it got us to that point because it was a great, unique logo. It had some unique characteristics, but it didn't have the scalability that we were hoping for as we continue to grow. But when you start a cigar company, you're hoping to get through year one, year three, year five.
Yeah.
Like especially with the obstacles in 2016 that we had. I mean, with the FDA coming in, um, I mean, that folded a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses. I don't know the
Yeah.
exact numbers, but I believe somewhere in 2014 there was around 30 plus 40, somewhere in there. You could probably fact check this, so I'm not, but there was 30 plus brand new cigar companies at the trade show at that IPCPR, which it was
Yeah.
formerly known.
Yes.
Now PCA. And then up until the last year or two, you wouldn't see more than a handful of companies max. There was years I don't think there was brand new cigar companies that were attending trade shows just because we weren't having that new market penetration with new customers or new manufacturers due to the fact that all the regulations that were coming, the FDA, COVID, um, ability to get cigars made in factories. When we first started, you could go down there and buy 50,000 cigars and go
Yeah.
for you could start with $250,000 and try to go make a cigar. That just doesn't happen anymore because of the cigar mini boom in COVID, the FDA, the regulations, now tariffs, which have now gone away again. But with all those different obstacles, like I feel like every 2 years we get punched in the face in the cigar business with something new. And with obstacles become opportunities, and you have the ability to, overcome or fold. So, we're continuing to power forward, and we have a great team. We have capital. We have, and I think, having our team built now with, I mean, the core of it starting with Jeff and then me and Tony and family and the guys in Minneapolis, and then new hires that we have coming before the trade show, as we just hired a new executive vice president of sales at the beginning of the year, Chip Goldine, who's helping us put together a larger sales team. So as we continue to grow, like we all have different roles and responsibilities. So when you first started, like what's the game plan? And I think every one of us will reinvent ourselves in a small business on an annual or biannual basis due to the fact that you just have to adapt or die.
Yeah. I had this marked for later, but since you kind of opened the door with the hiring of bringing Chip on, which great snag, by the way. I
Thanks, man.
mean, I mean, the decades of work at Ashton, his reputation precedes himself there, and it's funny because I actually said this, Casey. I said with the new branding and stuff and the ways that you guys have placed yourself in the market and re-entered the market with some of these brands that you had before and bringing them back and everything. Um, I've made this comparison. I was like, it's like Crux is like Ashton, but in the 2020s, right? What they were to the 90s, and where they were kind of they burst onto the scene and became this kind of and still are, right? They still are this very classic part of every retail humidor. You know, it Crux is a brand, or at least it's shaped this way, it's played this way, but it's done with the 20, it's done with a 20 teens, 2020s like update to become that player that's going to be in humidors for years to come. It's going to be that staple, that smaller brand that's that staple, if that makes any sense. Um,
Yeah, I mean, our goal when we brand and when we come up with new stuff is, clean, timeless, elegant, and some
Timeless was the word I was working for. Thank you.
yeah, something that allows us to, be marketable globally, even though we only sell in the United States still to this day, which we will expand at some point, and we've looked at it over the last few years, but there's a time and a place for everything, and there's only a certain amount of hours in every day. But as we continue
Right.
to grow and have, unique products that we add and really try to round out a portfolio of SKUs, it isn't just a line of cigars. I mean, people understand like to go globally, you need to do a lot more than just have 5 or 6 lines of cigars. You need to have different sizes, different markets, different packaging. I mean, there's a uniquely different obstacle with every country. So, but yeah, hiring Chip was a big step, kind of in, you could call it, year 5, we did a rebrand. Now year 10, 12, now we're looking at fully going into, let's call it that structure of, I don't want to say corporate because there's no way I'm going to work in a corporate business, but we're setting it up that we have levels of staff of teams um, working on fulfilling our entire national sales team. This year, if not quite every territory, but we'll have a large sales team for us, which will be 6, 7, 8 people that are direct. Or I think we have one. I mentioned it earlier. We have one independent broker in the Northwest. But that's just uniquely because of that territory. So hiring Chip, having been major corporate, running I don't know how many millions of 50, 60, how many ever million Ashton's worth, I don't know. Running the large scale of that business, coming from the exact opposite of what we did, was start from the ground up with, I think our first order was maybe 50, 25, 50,000 cigars. So we're talking the tens of thousands of dollars we were spending versus the tens of millions, whatever it was. So we really were looking for guidance to help scale, help grow, help manage. And we all have strengths and weaknesses. And, if you know how to manage a sales team, you know how to manage a sales team, like
Hmm.
it doesn't care what product it was. And he's obviously got a great reputation, and we get along with him, and we've had him for a few months so far, and it's been nothing but great. Um, and we'll continue to grow together. So we're really looking forward for almost that reorganization instead of the rebrand, you could call it now 5 years later, to the point where, this is phase three for us, and we can't wait for four, which will be in a few more years.
Yeah, it's interesting because like one of the things, if anyone's followed your brand for a number of years, Casey, you guys have been very calculating about all your decisions, right? You talked about the rebrand, the amount of time, the research, the effort, everything that went into that. And I'm sure hiring Chip or someone like Chip was probably a similar process for you. But the but the acceleration of, expanding the sales team, going almost completely in-house, as you were talking about a second ago, that's I mean that's a leap for you guys. It's
Well, we've been in house with all of our sales team except the Northeast and the Northwest for the last 5 years.
okay.
So we went to a point where we had as many as five, four, I'd have to count, 4 or 5 in-house in certain territories. Um, but then we had some exits last fall. One had to retire. So we started getting depleted again. And it was pretty rapid. It was at a time where the business kind of slows down when it comes to Christmas. So we're like, how do we? It was kind of a blessing in disguise to say, now we have time to really, kind of, get our ducks in a row and say, what's our next move? And we've got a few months before we have to make major moves because we were coming up on Christmas and not a lot of reps travel through Christmas as diehard as they would throughout the year because they're not expected to sell a lot of stuff in December and January based on some territories. So we could do more strategic thinking. And how do we basically set this up now, kind of almost from, ground two, not ground zero, but a little bit above, but to the point where we can find people that do things better than we know how to do things and start building a little bit more levels of sales training, sales staff. And I think we've done a good enough job, which that's my least favorite saying. It's good enough means it wasn't great. But we did an okay job to this point to keep us here. And we obviously are, enjoying the success of it. But if you want to think forward, like Jeff always says, we want to think in decades. We don't want to think of this year, next year. We want to think of what are we going to do for the next 10 years. And we're in decade number 2 right now.
Right.
So kind of the way we look at it. So how do we get to decade number 3? And to get to decade number 3 and have a successful business where it's still fun, where we're making money, where it's worth the time, where it's worth the energy. And you get that juice worth the squeeze kind of deal. And it's how do we make those? And we got to make those moves now. We got to make those moves now because it was a good timing. And inventory for us was always the challenge because you can't sell from an empty wagon and you need to grow your inventory. And we don't own the factory, so you buy tobacco so you can roll more tobacco. And luckily, we were able to roll many, many, many extra cigars over the last 3 to 5 years with COVID. Then it was really pinched down because, we were in a good position because we had cigars. Uh, that was abundant to us of what we had sold the year before. And then we're like, okay, let's ramp it up. Let's ramp it up. Let's ramp it up. And now we have, talk about available inventory. We have factory inventory. We have 2 facilities in Florida inventory. Jeff's actually flying. Actually, Jeff flew in tonight. He's meeting me tomorrow. We're going to look some more properties because we need more space. Like we currently have 2
Wow.
warehouses down in Florida. One small one where we pack and ship, another one which is long-term storage, that we continue to rotate in because we were one of the companies that before tariffs really hammered, we brought a lot of cigars in, and then we didn't know where it was going to go if we continue to import. And probably the only company, and fact check if somebody else did it, good for them, but we had 0 prices increase last year. Not even a tariff increase. We did nothing. We kept our price at wholesale and retail the exact same price for the entire 2025, and that was strategic because without raising the prices, we were able to get more market share from that customer that is staying there. And then it came back to us. So now those people that smoked our cigars that were still smoking, $12 to $15 cigars, they were smoking Crux because their $12 to $15 cigar went to $16, $17. And not people weren't budging on the money they wanted to spend.
Right.
So and maybe they'd never heard of us. We were in a price point, and that's a game that has to play with. And it's kind of a reason actually to bring up a good point of why we came out with the Marblehead product. which is it's a value line for us sub $10, which is all long filler, all hand rolled, but it has the Crux band on it, which means, we stand behind it. It's great tobacco. But we still needed something that was not above $10. When we started this company, our first cigar was $5.99 we came to market with, you
Hmm.
know, and that doesn't exist anymore for a full size cigar. But now we have a Toro and a Gordo for $8.99 or $7.99 and $8.99. But you have to continue to reinvent and have different portfolios as well as different price points that is a value at every price point. So you can have a $10 cigar that has bad value. You can have a $20 cigar that has a good value. And it's giving the customer a good value for whatever the price point is. So you could have the best cigar you've ever smoked and it costs $8. That's a great value. You could have your least favorite cigar that costs $4. That's a bad value. But you look at things that are worth more than they cost. And that's our goal, especially with the Marblehead project and any other Crux cigars, to be honest with you, is like we want you to be like, wow, this is worth more than I paid for it. I wouldn't consider people investing in holding tobacco because there's not a good ROI on investment. But for your own personal enjoyment, I think you want to get more than you pay for.
For sure. I really love that you guys trademarked the Marblehead and got that on the name on the cigar because it's been such a marquee size for you guys. And I just thought that was a really cool move. Um, you know, we talked about, the building of a brand and everything, and I think the topic of, the cigar business is not as easy as it looks is kind of a tired line of argument. But what's something that people don't understand about the cigar business in general? Like you grew up with this brand, the brand has been built, and I would say arguably, if not it's very easy to say in the last 10 years, Casey, I know your company's more than 10 years old, but the last 10 years, it's been the best company to come on the market. It's sustained the longevity. It lived through the whole COVID, the whole COVID thing, which again was a boon for the cigar industry in general. But for smaller brands, like the deeming regulations come out, you guys, that was like when y'all launched. Y'all survived that. Y'all survived the big push for inventory during COVID. You just talked about some of the strategies that you guys had in place and that have really helped you excel. Like, but what's something that people just don't really get about the cigar business?
I think they don't, the biggest thing is they don't really get that cigars can't happen overnight. Like, it's people have such a short attention span on everything. Free shipping overnight. It's got to be here next day. On-demand television. You used to get up and watch a show every Sunday night. You would wait up and it came on once a week and you had to wait 7 more days, to get to that show. Cigars don't happen overnight. And they can change because of growing seasons, because of factories, because of rollers, because of everything. It's not a widget. You can't turn the button on and say, make me 100,000 cigars. Like you can if you need an extra 100 widgets. And
Mhm.
cigars take time. Um, and they need to be consistent because the rollers are people. They're not machines. You have to have properly trained, bunchers and rollers and finishers and quality control and box makers and, packing material. Like everybody's got to do their job well to make a cigar great. And I think there's so many good cigars on our market. There's more great cigars on the market now than there's ever been in the world. There's just
Yeah.
so much great tobacco because of the quality of standard that is happening in, the major growing countries, Dominican, Honduras, and obviously Nicaragua, where we make our stuff. Um, there's so much great tobacco because of the changes that they have made, but it doesn't happen overnight. And the hardest part is we have short attention spans and we want to be instantly gratified all the time.
Hmm.
Social media is an example. Oh, that didn't get enough likes. I better post again. That's not a good enough thing. But if you build a process that you can get behind and you can follow the steps and you're going to go and work your ass off and trust the process, I think that's the biggest thing. They're like, well, how come you guys are on back order? Well, that's because there was a tree shortage and we're missing a box. There was a wrapper shortage. We had a fire. I mean, we're just talking about not us specifically in all these examples, but things that happen in the cigar business. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a factory last year that we used that had a major fire. We lost all of our packing material. you know?
And again, recently, right? Did
Yeah.
that affect you guys
Another
at all?
one. Thankfully, that was not finished product.
Right.
But that was stored tobacco, and you know, I'm glad nobody gets hurt in these types of things because
Of
they
course.
happen a lot more than you think. But you have these setbacks, and some of them hit harder than others. Regulation hits harder than others. FDA in 2016, that was a lot harder to me to stomach than this tariff thing. Yeah, tariffs suck. Um,
Was
COVID
that the
started.
most stressful point in your company? Not even the rebrand. Was it the regulations that early in your history?
No, I would say COVID, the first couple months of COVID was the most stressful part of the company. Only
Interesting.
because we had just hired three direct sales staff. And now we had other people's lives on our hands. Versus before, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to like eat less food and drink less scotch and do less things because I didn't have a full-time team, you know?
Right.
And you get to the point where now you feel like you're in charge of other people's financial experiences for their families. And we had hired them in January of 2020 and
Mhm.
February of 2020. And then in March of 2020, the world shut down. And the first couple weeks was cool, but the most stressful. It wasn't as stressful in 2016 due to the fact that we were like, well, we haven't really put a whole lot into it. We're going to put our all into it. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to file. We're going to do this. We're going to follow. We're going to listen to people that know better than us. But at that point, it was almost like we had just started college and we were going to just, if you drop out after your freshman year, nobody cares, you know.
My parents would have
But
had said something to
we
say
didn't
about
want
that.
to, you know. I would say that was more of an obstacle and not a stress. I would say the beginning of COVID was a stress, and then it turned into completely chaos of growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And it ended up being financially, and the boom of Crux was timed not on purpose with the relaunch and branding to be one of those turning points that you can say, you know, we created our own luck, but we got really lucky.
How so?
Well, we just because we were building up inventory for a time to relaunch a new brand, basically with new packaging. And we were hoarding inventory because we came out with it at the 2019 trade show. We were getting ready to hire sales staff. We were building inventory and an excessive amount that we had ever sold before. So when COVID came, and we were able to obviously get through the first month or two because that wasn't the problem. But then when there was these needs for cigars because we had a cigar, but we were in the place where we had cigars. I remember people calling me and says, "We have never carried Crux cigars, um, and I can't get my other brands." And somebody said, "You have cigars." Like literally, they didn't care. Like there was sometimes those lucky right places. They were
Right.
literally like, "I heard you have cigars." And I
Yeah.
go, you are right. However, that's not how this works. We also need to know a little bit about you before you can give me money. So we were strategic when it came to that. But the point was we were in the right place at the right time with the right preparation. So we created our own luck and then got lucky.
There's ebbs. We've talked about this tonight, and virtually every episode. There's ebbs and flows in this business, and you've described the history of Crux to those peaks and valleys. Cigar manufacturers have experienced the same, right? And at the time when you guys launched, there was this, uh, at least in the cigar nerd world, there was this perception about Plasencia manufactured cigars that just, I'll be frank, wasn't the greatest, right? But you guys put out superior product with them and everything like that. And then they decide to launch their own brand with their own name behind it. And I don't know what happened. And I'm not asking you to comment on that company because that's not your company, Casey. But I don't know what happened. But their manufacturing, their cigar quality, and everything like turn like overall, just it seemed to like do a complete 180 overnight and everything. And
Well, I'll
there you
gladly
guys are.
comment on it because they are our business partner. And it came to the point where they really wanted to put time and effort into the legacy of their brand that was more than manufacturers. And Nestor Andres Plasencia, who is a great friend of mine and a business partner of ours, um, his dad is a farmer. He's a farmer. They wanted to continually create a better name of the Plasencia family.
Mhm.
And they've always been, if not the best farmers in Nicaragua, maybe grow the most amount of tobacco. There's always a judgment. Who knows? I don't know what really makes sense, but they grow a lot of tobacco at a high level.
Sure.
And there was always a problem in, the distribution to retail to the consumer, and they had tried it, but they had never really given it a try. They'd kind of dabbled.
Yeah.
Well, that happened to be the time where you have Jeff and then Nestor, who are obviously basically brothers, but Jeff's retail and Nestor Andres is a farmer. And now you have a retailer and a farmer both thinking about launching cigar brands. And that was one of the key reasons why Jeff selected Placencia as our first factory, because Jeff had started going down there in 2011, 3 years before we even sold cigars.
Right.
And he was spending a month down in Nicaragua, Honduras, um, the Dominican, going through factories, doing SWOT analysis, figuring out learning the whole process, trying to give himself that education of the blending, and then sitting down with Nestor many times because when you're in Esteli, I mean, there's hundreds of factories there. People don't realize, but in order to have a business to scale, you have to have inventory and you have to have tobacco and you have to be able to roll that tobacco. And we were not going to be farmers and we were not going to manage a factory at that point because that was beyond my means of knowledge. Because ask me if I know how to roll cigars to an expert level today. No, I don't. I'm not an expert level cigar roller by any means. Um, Actually, to this day, I still have never rolled a cigar. People always say, why? I go, because I am not good at that. That is not the guy. That's not the left hand. That's not I also never pitched in baseball. Like there's just things I'm not going to do that other people are going to do. So,
At any
you
level,
know,
you never pitched?
okay, we're talking real baseball.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
I think I caught almost every game from the time I was 13 to 25. I played outfield a little bit. They tried to did I play third base? No, played outfield or caught, but I was a catcher. And so you play every game. I pitched BP. I pitched in fall ball, which was what you used to call, but you'd go out and throw fastballs and try not to hit your teammates. Because you tried to throw a curveball and it hurt. But you get to the point where, Nestor and Jeff are now talking about these ideas of going to market again. And, all the goods and bads of both sides. Jeff has a successful retail shop in Minneapolis. It's been there since 92. Well, not the exact same spot, but he's been around for a long time. So he knew the retail business. And Nestor knows the farming business. So a lot of conversations were had for years. Um, and even as we both started coming out with products, like there was conversations that were had between both of us, like, what do you think? What do we think? What do you think? What do we think? With two different perspectives. Now we were coming out with Crux, they were coming out with 1865, but like the mentality changes in a factory when you're elevating the product with your name on it. You know,
Hmm.
Before they were selling cigars to other people with everybody else's name on it, which they still
Right.
do, a lot of them.
Right.
But every one of those brands is better today because of their brand, because they have a higher quality of standard. They're doing things differently. It took a lot of looking in the mirror and putting in new things, a lot of money, time, and effort. And the fact is, I think we had a little bit to do with that at some point, doing the thing, what you need to do at a retail level. Um, Now they have so much strength in what they do. I think they'd be successful whatever they tried at this point when Nestor Andres really decided to put his full force behind it. But we couldn't thank them enough because without them putting themselves behind us and having a lot of these conversations, there's tobaccos we never would have been introduced to. There's relationships that we would never have been introduced to. So they were a key catalyst in Crux's early success for sure.
Nice. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back to more Crux conversations. This is our first break, so our first fun segment, which is always brought to you by a United Cigar. Are you ready to live the United lifestyle? Launch your palate voyage with United Cigars. You can celebrate over 250 years of excellence with the Red Anchor, or experience elegance with La Gian Havana. Rekindle the spirit of 1776 and light up the skies with a firecracker, and celebrate honor, pride, and accomplishment with the Gold Star. Jet set the globe and capture luxury with Atabey, Byron, Alfonso, or Bandolero, or now the Nelson line from Selected Tobacco. Don't just smoke, Smoke United. United Cigars since 1901. United we smoke. Um, the roots of your company are obviously in Minnesota.
I do
And
have to make I want to interrupt real quick
sure.
about that advertisement is that Oliver is a good friend of mine, and he's gonna be a little upset that I say that I am probably the favorite Hichizo smoker in the country. That little guy, that little Atabe, little Hichizos thing that they make
Hmm.
is by far my favorite little 4x42, I think it is. And he owes me probably 2 or 3 boxes of those by now. Just laying it out. So hopefully he sends them to me again. Back to the
He
schedule show.
he tunes in quite a bit, so I'm sure he's catching this right now. So uh
Still will always take those for free.
noted. So with the roots in the company in Minnesota, uh Casey, I wanted this is our presidential trivia segment, so I wanted to take some US presidential trivia and carve it out for the state of Minnesota. So this is going to test a little bit of this. So, but the first one you got a 50-50 shot
Well,
at.
our company is actually based in Florida.
Okay. The roots are though in Minnesota, right?
We were all Minnesotans at one point, correct? Okay.
All right, cool. All right, so the first one's easy. It's a coin flip, man, which is better than the failing seven
You
times
realize
out
I
of
haven't lived in
10.
Minnesota in 20 years, right?
20 years?
2007, almost.
Goodness. Okay, fair
So
enough.
I may not be good at Minnesota treat, but I'll take a shot. They're gonna hate me. But
Okay.
if it's a presidential thing, I can tell you where they voted every year.
Well, yeah, I think most people can. This is probably the least confident I've ever seen you at something, Casey. I really love this. True or
19,
false?
19 years. True or
True or
false?
false?
Okay, now I got a
Yeah,
50% chance.
yeah. There you go. So Minnesota was the first, true or false? Minnesota was the first state to offer troops to the Union during the
Do
Civil
you
War.
think I was a good student? Is that what you think? You think I was like
I know you
smart?
I know you had to pass, otherwise you wouldn't have played.
Fair. All right, what was the question?
True or false?
I wasn't a good
Minnesota,
test taker.
okay. Like you said,
True or
50-50
false?
shot. Minnesota was the first state to offer troops to the Union during the Civil War.
They are pretty compassionate people up there. I want to just go with the fact that at one point we were really into that. So I'm going to say true.
It is true. Very good. See, you're natural at this. They
They
were the
feel like
first troops.
compassionate people up there.
The governor at the time was Alexander Ramsey, and he was the
Sure.
first to offer the troops to President Lincoln in 1861 after shots were fired on Fort
Yeah,
Sumter.
Ramsey was a good guy. That's where I actually a city called Ramsey Township, just outside of Maple Grove.
See, you're a natural at this. I didn't know that. And I did some research on this question. So there you go. That's awesome. What what was your best subject in school?
What level of school? College
Uh,
or
high school,
high
high school.
school?
College, I'm
Best
guessing it was business, but that's just me.
college, high school. I don't know. I went to a public high school in Minnesota, so public high school is pretty good for public schooling. Um, but you just found a way to do as little as possible. Um, my favorite was probably human biology. I don't think I was good
Wow.
at it. I don't think I was good at it, but I
Okay.
passed it. But I
Was
did
not
have
expecting that.
I did have like a 3.65 GPA in high school, but I don't really think that it was that hard. College, that's a different story. That's a different story.
Was it business? That was my guess in college. Was that your best subject?
Oh, my best subject was trying to get C's.
Okay, fair enough.
They eligible get C's. I ended up with I think a 2.65 in college, something like that.
Okay.
But I was a two-sport athlete. I had all these other things going on, and I didn't apply myself because
Wait, what other sport did you play?
I played football as well in college.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we
Receiver
won a
or
national title in 2003. We were, my dad was a defensive coordinator. No
Casey?
nepotism, no
How did I not know
nepotism,
this?
but I also played wide receiver, so there was no nepotism. Um, I always say that because we were good. Yeah, I started for 2 years. I
I
played wide
totally
receiver.
pegged your position though as soon as you said that. I said receiver, right? So at
Yeah,
least
I
I
was a
get
wide
some credit
receiver.
there. How
So
about
yeah, we
that?
were good. We had a lot
Shit,
of
how did
fun.
I never know that? That's awesome. I had no idea. Man,
So my best subject was probably math, but it also bored me the most. And
just
then
naturally gifted it.
it was pointless because I was like, somebody else is going to do this math for me later in life. I am not going to be an accountant.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Wow. I had no idea. That's crazy. All right, this one's a little bit harder. All right. You're gonna laugh at this one. Here's the question. Graydon McCulley
Say that
became
again.
the man's name is Graydon McCulley. He became the first Minnesotan to hold office as president of the National Turkey Federation. I shit you not. An organization that sought to improve disease control and expand turkey production. Okay. The organization, along with the Poultry and Egg National Board, shit you not, traveled to DC to gift this president a Minnesota grown Thanksgiving turkey that was, of course, pardoned and became an annual tradition of the pardoning of the turkey. What president
Do
did
you
they
know where
visit?
that turkey came out of? I think it came out of a city just west of where I grew up. I'm trying to stall, to be honest with you. Um, who was the president that pardoned the first turkey?
Yeah. Was it
Ford?
A? Oh no, I'm going to give you choices.
Oh, then I'm wrong. So it's not Ford.
No, that's not
Go ahead.
Ford. Here, A.
Not Ford.
Harry Truman. B.
Yeah, it was
Franklin.
him.
Was him?
Yeah.
Snap. Okay, cool. You got it.
Yeah, it was him. It was him. I knew that. I knew Truman did it.
This is hilarious. I'm serious. This is the most most non-confident I've seen you at anything in our entire time of knowing each other.
But
And you
here's the deal.
you nailed both questions though.
Did I? Good. I
It's
started
awesome.
with Ford though. I was like, is it Ford? No, it didn't seem right.
Okay. As soon as I gave you the choice though, you knew it. You're like,
But
that's
you
it.
only ask me questions of things I know normally. And I know my life. I've been there, did that. So
Sure.
you ask me questions about me. It's pretty easy
Yeah,
to be
but
confident when you lived it.
okay, fair enough. But Casey, I think honestly, like you're the type of person, and I've known you for a few years now. Like honestly, like you could walk into any room and I swear to God, you could probably bullshit your way through anything, and I would believe it 110%, and I would take it as
Oh,
gospel.
sometimes it's really fun to have conversations that are completely made up with people that think you're serious. And
Oh,
then
I
at the
believe
end, you
it.
just go, that's all bullshit, and you leave.
Yeah. Well, I could
It's
exactly
really fun. It's really
again,
fun.
I could totally believe it with you, man. Straight face, confidence, like I'm
Especially when it's like your brother-in-law or your new sister-in-law, and you just say these ridiculous things, and they're like, and then they look at it, and my siblings know me. My mom knows me.
mhm.
They go, yeah, he's not telling you. And none of that was real.
What's the we're gonna go back to Crux here in a second, but you just bringing up you mentioned your dad about being a football coach as well as um
Just retired.
lifetime lifetime winningest coach, right? In Minnesota collegiate sports. Is that did I get that
I
right?
don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Sounds
Felt like
wrong.
what's that?
He was the active winningest coach
That was it
at
at the
one
time.
point. He's technically active, I guess, but he's not collecting any more wins because he's on his victory lap. They call Coach Emeritus. He coached his final game at third base last summer or last spring, um, and then he's Coach Emeritus through this year. So technically, he doesn't get credit for any more wins. I don't know how many he has, just under 1,000, I think. Um, and in
Jeez.
baseball, in 47 years at the same school, and then he is unofficially, however, it is official. You can look it up. You're never going to find it. The winningest defensive coordinator in college football history. Um, he has because John Gallardi is the winningest football coach at 489 wins. My dad was with him since 1976, 77, excuse me. No, 76 was the first year he coached. My dad has over 400 wins as a defensive coordinator. Um,
Wow.
so
Okay.
defensive coordinators do not get credit for wins, so it's an unofficial stat. But
Sure.
there's no I'd be there's got to be no defensive coordinator that has that many wins because St. John's was a perennial powerhouse in Division three for many years and winning 10 plus games a year for most seasons.
He also probably is up there, if not the record holder for the amount of years he's held that same coaching position at one college.
48, I think. And then he comes up with some stat. He coached 110 seasons of sports in college
God damn.
because he
Holy
was
shit.
also a basketball coach and his assistant basketball coach for some years. And he was a head hockey coach for 4 years. Never played hockey. Welcome
Oh,
to the
that's fun.
80s. Welcome to the
That's fun.
80s.
That's fantastic, man. Well, congrats to your dad on a retirement, man. That's fantastic. What a career. Holy crap. So, let me go back up here real quick to some of my other questions. You mentioned Scotch a minute ago, and one of the more interesting things that I found was from another interview that you did on another show. I didn't know that. I mean, and again, you were pretty adamant about this that where the cigar world is pretty much known as like, we're bourbon heads, all of us. You stand apart from that, and you're very classic with the Scotch pairing. Um, and you just
Yeah.
you it's a I know it's a preference for you, obviously. I think
Bourbon
you
tastes like
probably
bourbon.
yeah. When did you get into Scotch? Was that something that that developed with cigars or
It goes back to with my dad. My dad's not a big drinker at all. Like I've probably only seen him a little tipsy twice in my life. Once was my sister's wedding. He was a little hammered, which was awesome. Um, but I'll never forget it. But occasionally he would have a bottle of scotch and he would share it with me. And he didn't drink often. And he had a bottle of scotch that he used to have with his dad, and he would try scotches. So I always had this like I don't this grasp of wanting to have scotch with my dad.
hmm
And we did it a few times, not a lot, until I graduated from college. And then, I mean, I was over 21. And then later in life, I started drinking scotch because I would bring a bottle to visit. When every time I go see him, I bring a bottle of scotch. He would still have the one I brought him the last year, or because we could drink for him. So he was starting to get but I bring a new bottle, and at the time, I mean, I don't care how much you want to spend on a bottle of scotch, but you can get a
Pretty crazy.
decent bottle of scotch for $50. I
hmm
mean, I think we talked about value like we did earlier. I think a value bottle of scotch is a phenomenal couple bottles at $125. I think they have great value. Obviously, you can spend, you know, an astronomical amount of money that you and I can't afford on scotch. But like, if you aren't drinking it and you're tasting it like you are cigars, it lasts a long time. If you sit there and pound a half bottle of scotch, yeah, you want it to be cheap stuff. But that's not the way I started drinking it with my dad. We'd go have a glass or two. We would drink a third of a bottle max between the two of us. And it made me want to start. But he started it. I was a scotch called Macallan 12,
hmm
which was a pretty readily known available. It's a Budweiser type of scotches, but it's a good one.
hmm
That was what he always wanted. So that's what it started with. So I didn't start with low end scotches. So I really enjoyed it. So continued going through it. We actually last summer, nope, not 25, 20, 24. My dad, my brother, and I went and spent a week over in Scotland.
Oh
Um,
wow.
actually tour some of the factories and
Distillers.
uh, distilleries. Um, and that was a trip we'll never forget because we had incredible times going through Glenfiddich, Belvini, playing golf, going to the British Open. We had the ultimate, father son trip. Um,
That's
and
awesome.
just being able to go and immerse yourself in the manufacturing process like cigars. I think that's kind of to me the nerd in me is about the process and learning about that finally, after I guess 20 years of drinking scotch to finally get over there and be there and see it with my dad and go through the whole process. And obviously your tastes differ, they grow and bourbon's good for people that like bourbon. I've tried to have, I mean, I look at my little bar over there and there's probably 3 bottles of bourbon over there that have never been opened. Because, if you come over to my house, you can have it when you can take it with you, like, but there's probably 5 bottles of scotch open, and I have a decanter and all this. But to me, scotch is just, there's different types of scotch, obviously from different regions as well, just like cigars. It's
Hmm.
uniquely different from bourbon, and bourbon people are going to crucify me for this, and that's totally fine. I've done a bourbon pairing with people. I've done bourbon, and I've found bourbons that I will drink, but not by choice and not by desire. If we go to people with bourbon, they're like, "We're going to drink bourbon." I'll be like, "Okay." Well, I mean, I'm not going to say no,
Yeah, it's
but
just
I'm not going to say like, "Yeah, like give me more." Um, I don't know. It's not sweet. Scotch is, I like single malt stuff, typically from the Highlands, is my favorite. So if people are watching, you feel free to send it to me. Anything from the Highlands, any notes, any things you need to try that are typically Highland. My favorite value Scotch is the Glenfiddich 18. That's probably my favorite value Scotch for the price point.
hmm.
I think it's absolutely incredible. But I'll drink anything from all over the board. But bourbon, I just never got into it because to me it was harsher. It was sweeter. I don't like sweets. I'm not a sugar guy. I don't like, I'm a savory guy, not a sweet guy.
Hmm.
Um, and that's why I hate rums. I think rums are about as rummy as you get. You try to make them more
Oh, if
sweet,
you're a Scotch drinker, there's no way you drink rum because it's just too
I have
cloying.
one bottle of rum that sits on my bar, and I bought it, I don't know how many years ago. And it is a Nicaraguan rum. It's a Nicaraguan 18 Florida Caña that sits on that bar that stays there in case somebody needs rum when they come over. Turns out it has not been opened yet.
It turns out nobody wants the rum.
No,
That's funny.
I mean, but they'd rather drink the other thing. I mean, I'm looking over at that little cart I have right now, and there's other ones somewhere, but like there's a bottle of Old Forester and a bottle of Buffalo Trace, and yeah, they're there. They're gonna stay there because I'm not gonna drink them.
Well, knowing you're a Scotch guy, if I was ever, invited, and I'm not, advocating for that, sorry, just invited myself. Um, but if I was ever at your home, I wouldn't ask for a bourbon because I know you're not a bourbon
No,
guy.
I
I
would
would
give
ask
you bourbon.
because you want me to drink
But if you're a bourbon guy and I'm the host, I want you to have bourbon. You know why?
because you're not going to drink it.
Because it's cheaper.
Oh, okay, good point. Fair enough.
My bourbon is cheaper than my scotch, and I don't have terrible bourbon. I've been,
Oh,
like
some
I have bourbon
classics.
that bourbon people can drink. Like they'll be fine with it. But if they're
Yeah.
like, "Let me try that scotch," I was like, "No, you don't like scotch." Like I did an interview and they wanted to give me this collectible bourbon, and I was like, "Why?"
It's gonna be
I go,
wasted
"I'm
on
not
you.
going to appreciate it." And they gave me this thing they sought after, this thing that, and they're like, "This is," and I go, "It's garbage." And I'm pretty blunt when it comes to that. Like, it's a yes or a no. I go, "This is terrible." And it was some super exclusive something, something, something. And I was like, "Yeah, you bogeyed that for sure."
Where was the British Open that year that you guys went and on
I went to
the
Royal Troon.
okay, awesome. Have you I know you play a bunch of golf. What did you play any courses over there while you were there?
We did. We played 3 or 4 times. No, I played four. They left a day early. I stayed a couple more days. We played Cabot Highlands. We played Turnberry, ILA, of course, which is the top 10 in the world. That was probably the best day to spend with my dad and my brother in the history of my life. Walking Turnberry, overseeing the Scottish Isles. It was awesome. Um, I played St. Andrew's new course,
Okay.
which was built in, I think, 1895.
Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah.
Because it
Just
was a
before the
Sunday and I didn't know that the old course was, so you can typically show up and like get on a waiting list and you can maybe get on or you go play one of the other ones. But I went Sunday and they're like, yeah, the old course is actually a park that
hmm.
people are walking their dogs on Sunday,
Yeah.
which is the craziest thing in the world. The most iconic place in golf lets people just walk Sunday afternoons, just walk with their dogs.
Well,
Still to this day.
that's most places in Scotland and Great Britain. You can walk everywhere. Like they don't give a shit.
No, but I'm saying like they shut the golf course.
Oh yeah. I
No,
didn't
the
know they
golf
were
course
shut.
is closed on Sundays.
Oh, I didn't know it was closed.
Yeah, the
That's
old
funny.
course is closed on Sundays. and it's literally a public park.
That's crazy. I
So I
I
played the
I,
new course.
I went to St. Andrews. It was on a Saturday, and they had some kind of they were playing some kind of amateur championship that was going on, um and there's still people. We were still allowed to walk on the course, when
Yeah.
there weren't players on it and stuff. And it was awesome. I loved it because I was like, fuck this, man. I'm gonna smoke a cigar on St. Andrews. Like, I'll get kicked out, I don't care, or
Did
I'll
they
put it
let you
out. What
smoke?
they did. No, they absolutely. I had no idea. I had no expectation one way or another, Casey. So I had no idea. But yeah, they no
I smoked a cigar playing the new course.
yeah, the fucking marshal was like chiefing on fucking cigarettes. So he was like, yeah, because I asked him. I didn't want to be a dick. I didn't want to be an American jerk.
But
So
that's the
like he's
difference
like, yeah. He's like, of course,
between
like whatever.
cigarette and cigar smokers. The difference is like we'll ask,
Yeah,
and if they don't allow it, like we're not going to cry. We're going to move on with our lives and go smoke it later.
yeah,
But
true.
cigarette smokers are going to go, puff their cancer somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, that's cool. What an amazing trip. That sounds awesome.
Oh, it was phenomenal. It was absolutely incredible.
And well, when you and I were texting earlier this year, you were actually at Wimbledon. So that was
That was right before. That was the same year. That was literally. So this was a weird thing. I was actually going to meet my dad and brother over in Scotland and realized I had a layover in London to fly to Glasgow. And it was a longer layover than I was like, oh, what can I do in London in a day? And then I was like, what's to do in London? And it happened to be during Wimbledon. So then I changed my flight, went 3 days earlier, and went to Wimbledon for 3 days.
what was that experience like? What was
The only way I can describe it for me is it is the Augusta National of tennis. I love tennis. I play tennis. I'm not a tennis player. I mean, like I play as a workout. I'm not good. Um, to me, it was top three sporting events I've ever been to, and I don't know how to rank them. Um, with going to the Masters, uh, attending a Ryder Cup in Minnesota, and then the Wimbledon was, I don't know, just the ambiance, the feel, the nostalgia of being on that property. I actually would probably put it second in front of the Ryder Cup now that I think about it. I don't know if you'll ever have a better day than I did at the Augusta National in 2008. Trevor Inman won it that year, if you wanted some history. And I haven't been back. We will get back probably next year, hopefully. Now that my dad's retired and can go somewhere in April, I'll take him.
there you go.
Um, but it's incredible. You literally are sitting courtside watching anybody play that aren't like on the grand court because there's tennis happening everywhere. Tennis at that level is watching like even the junior men's that are like 18, 19-year-old kids, 17, I don't know, whatever the age is, 17, 18, like they're incredible to watch. And you're watching them play on grass and you're literally courtside 3 feet away from watching them hit a golf or a tennis ball. So, and it's an unbelievable town, an unbelievable venue. Um, yeah, that's I will do that again for sure.
That's so cool. One of the things I've always loved about interviewing you, Casey, is that like you're one of the few people where like I when I hang up the phone or finish the interview or whatever, like I go back and I'm like, gosh, I wish I had asked him this, or I wish I'd gone back. And I've done it a couple of times tonight with some of the questions that I've asked you. Another one, you talked about the rebranding. I know we're going backwards a little bit in the history, but you talked about the logo, and I remember on this show where you talked about how much you just weren't a fan of it. You weren't a fan of the old logo and stuff and everything. And you know, but one of the other things you weren't a fan of was the was the old hashtag that you guys used quite a bit, was the go crux
Well,
yourself.
we don't say it anymore, and I
Right.
want to say that I wasn't not a fan of it because I came up with it. I'm not a creative human being, but that came out of anger when I said that one time, and it stuck, and we liked it. Um, because as I was growing up, being around baseball, being around my dad, being around the dugout, being around the coaches. You can understand what GFY means.
Yeah.
I thought GFY meant good for you most of my life, my child life,
Okay.
because I was told that GFY meant good for you. So I thought GFY was good for you, good for you, good for you. And I would tell my mom GFY all the time. She thought it meant good for you. And we're talking me being like 10, 11, 12 years old, right?
Of course. Of course.
And you get told something and you believe it and it makes sense. It could mean GFY. I meant it as good for you.
Sure.
And you get to the point where obviously a point in your life it changes to something else. And then I was frustrated one day as we were trying to find a hashtag in a naming spotlight of creativity in the mind, which we probably did not have the right creativity people there because we were not that good at it. And it ended up with me saying, "Go crux yourself," because I was done with this. And then we're like, "Yep."
That's
And
it.
I'm like, "Can I just do this?" So I did like it because it was something I came up with, and it has a longer story that meant something. But to me, what "Go Crux Yourself" really meant is go enjoy Crux Cigar.
Sure.
Like, and it to me it came from "Good for You." You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
"Good for You" was the 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 birthplace of GFY. And to me, it was like, oh, good for you. Well, what's good? Go crux yourself. To me, so there was a positive, real steam behind the way it came out. Obviously, when people use it as a derogatory, like go fuck yourself, which I won't say
Yeah.
again, but um, then it's not. And the biggest reason I didn't like it as it went on is because I didn't realize that people couldn't understand it like "go crux yourself" meant like go have a crux cigar.
Yeah.
And the people were offended.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. I thought it was a cool like go crux yourself because go get a crux cigar, go smoke crux. Like, and I guess they never heard the story or where it came from originally. Good for you. Like, and I know for a fact, oops, did I lose it? No, I swiped on accident. I know for a fact that there was an account that he will go nameless, who the day we changed our branding and change, he called me and said, "I want to carry your product. I have never carried your product because I'm offended by your slogan, but I love your cigars."
Oh, wow.
And I never knew that it was costing us some money, which to me, being literally Switzerland is the world. You want to be, neutral. You don't want to be out there pissing people off. You don't want to be doing the wrong thing. And I just thought it was a catchy thing.
Sure.
And we all did. We all didn't realize there was some real offensive behind it. And I've even had real conversations of apologies after that. And I was like,
Wow.
why didn't people tell me this before? They're like, well, that's what you guys were. And if you look at the logo, you look at the branding, it was edgy. It kind of fit.
Yeah.
It was like rough, tough, edgy. And maybe people are like, well, that's what they're going for. Well, that didn't really resonate with how we felt about our company. Obviously clean, elegant, timeless. That's it feels more. And I know this for a fact because I would wear Crux old gear to Crux events, but not want them on my stuff because I didn't really love the logo. I didn't think it was like something I would want on my golf polo or my golf hat or like if I'm not at a cigar event. So it was like that's our work logo. And then once we got our new one, like, oh, I love it. I think
Right.
it's clean. I mean, and even on this shirt, like we don't always put the word cigars because you don't always need it to say cigars.
Right.
Because anybody that sees me wearing the shirt knows it's with cigars. Um,
Well,
but
that's what you're going for. It's timeless, right? It doesn't have to. You
yeah,
don't have to explain what it is. It's Crux.
yeah. And you have, like, I mean, I've put it on ball markers. I put it on towels. I put it on head covers. I put it on, I mean, anything I want to, like, I'm proud to use that logo. I'm proud to use that branding. Um, Not that I'm embarrassed by the old one by any means, because it was got us to that point. But the only one I wish I would have known earlier that we offended some people. Now I get it. Sometimes no matter what you come up with, you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
Um, because some people need to toughen up, just so they know. Um, but in that scenario, I would have agreed with them had we had a conversation early on. I would have said that's not what we're going for.
Well,
But now it's to the point where, you know, it's kind of fun to think about it. Almost looking back at some of the old stuff I see is almost like it's so far long ago, so far, that's not good English. It's so long ago that I look at the old bands and I think they're cool again.
yeah.
Um, because I don't see them on a daily basis. Trust me, I still have a nice little collection of Crux cigars that have old bands on them. And I see them and I'm like, yeah, that's cool now. But in 2020, I hated it.
I still have a box of the old shows, or the original shows.
So do
Pretty
I.
cool.
The 2015 ones.
Yeah. hmm I've got a couple cigars smoked out of it, but it's almost a full box. Um, well, I'm sorry, I misremembered that then. But that leads me to my question about the new slogan, the "Find Your Crux." With the crux, this fork in the road, so to speak. You know, so it kind of led me. What I wanted to ask was, what what do cigars mean to you personally? Now, this is your job, and this is the context of how I know you, right?
Hmm.
And you're very passionate about the brand. You're very, and you've helped build this from the ground up, right? You and Jeff, and built it to this what is becoming a boutique staple for this industry. But what do cigars represent? Just not Crux, but what do cigars represent personally to you?
Well, for us, it was always learning about tobacco from Jeff. I mean, obviously, he was the one that introduced me to cigars. Having the retail shop, showing up in his cool car and his cool clothes, and smoking cool cigars at family functions like Thanksgiving, and that thing where Truman brought the turkey to. We were at the one that he pardoned. Um, but Jeff shows up to Thanksgiving. We play pool and we smoke cigars. And no, I wasn't smoking at that days. But it was that thing where I grew up around Jeff, and Jeff was cool. You know, Jeff still is cool. He's gonna probably be offended that I said was. No, Jeff is still cool. But like cigars to me was family, because it was something that brought our family together. Jeff was, young into the business. I grew up around it from the time I was 8 years old. Now, was it an everyday thing? Was I in the shop? No. When I started smoking cigars, let's say 18, just for legal state, because at that point it was legal. I would go hang out with Jeff. I'd drive down to his office, and occasionally we'd sit and talk life, family life. Um, but now it's more of a like, it's a dedicated time for relaxation and togetherness. Like you go sit, you're gonna have a cigar. You're gonna go sit, you're gonna go have a company. You're gonna go, meet your friends, sit down, relax. It brings people together that don't usually be together in a cigar shop, out a cigar shop. Um, and the uniqueness behind that plant that allows for kind of mind-blowing experiences of flavors that can come through a little bit of nicotine, and a product that really can truly just accentuate the event you're already doing.
hmm
Um, like playing golf, like having scotch, like sitting on a balcony, like at a party, like at a barbecue. Like it brings another level of community, another level of something that brings people together. And I just think for me, it's mostly like I love smoking cigars. I love doing a lot of other things, but when you're with the people that you want to smoke cigars with, that want to do those things, you learn unique experiences from them. You learn about different people's passions. Um, and you have the abilities because you probably have an hour to learn about something. Yeah, and you can take it in a pessimistic view, but if you sit down and really want to talk to people and really get to know people, an hour is plenty of time.
Yeah.
and you can find out a lot of things. And it's probably how I found out about global knives. You want to go back to cooking. You want to go back to how do you find out about certain scotches, certain bourbons, certain whatever people all have passions and professions, right? And thankfully, cigars is both for me.
Nice. Well, that is a perfect transitional point into the final few questions of our evening tonight. And these are our what I call our fun segments, our sponsor segments. This first one is brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place, it can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars, so light up an asylum and choose your refuge. Okay, so you're talking about the cigars are a moment, represent a moment for you and everything, and that's kind of what this segment's about. Is you spend your day around people smoking cigars, whether it's at a shop or whether it's down at the factory with Jeff or with Jeff here, in there in Florida when he comes down tomorrow. You guys will be smoking cigars. But every so often we have moments that it's just ourselves, right? Just ourselves, just a cigar, and that moment can be about celebration, can be a moment of pondering, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure you've had several dozen in your life, but what's one that comes to mind? What was significant about the moment? And if you can remember, what were you smoking?
Moment in my life where I was smoking a cigar by
By yourself.
myself. Well, I can think of a moment specifically that I where I like smoking a cigar by myself. The first thing that came to mind is that really early morning cigar that nothing else is happening in the world. I don't have to check my phone. I don't have to check an email. Nobody in the world's probably awake because the sun's not even up. Um, that cigar to me is the most enjoyable cigar, which I don't get to have often. Um, and it's typically I mean, if it's a Crux cigar at that time, I mean, the cigar I smoke in the morning early on is the Connecticut Corona Gorda, um, the Epicure Connecticut Corona Gorda. But that's kind of like a moment that I will never forget. But I will always remember a moment when um, I was able to buy my first box of cigars by myself, where I had a cigar and there was the first box purchase for me was a celebration. This was getting a new job after retiring, released enough from baseball. And I had a job and I had made, let's say, my first level of milestone of actually making adult money. I bought a box of cigars and it was the Don Carlos number three.
Oh, damn.
Uh, that was one of the ones that I had smoked and probably taken out of Jeff's humidor more times than, he's like, hey, help yourself. I was like, take this one. He introduced me to good stuff. That was probably one that I remember smoking as a celebration, um, because it was probably one of the first ones he ever gave me, and it was always like he knows better, so let me watch, so let me follow. So that was one of the first ones that I remember going, I'm gonna keep these here for me to smoke with celebration, and then they just came to like, I'm gonna smoke these all the time.
Cool. That's uh, that's awesome. I was going to ask you what box it was. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the number three, the Don Carlos number threes.
Sweet. Well, that'll take us into our next segment brought to you by Artista Cigars, which is truly the last hidden gem of the Dominican Republic. With nearly 70 years of rolling cigar history, the family behind Artista believes in honoring their long held traditions of handmade artistry. Artista's blends include factory exclusive tobaccos and front marks for every budget. In fact, Artista has one of the most varied portfolios in the market today. There's something for everyone at Artista. Now, if you're like me and most of the time you can never decide what to smoke, Artista is a breath of fresh air because I know I can take something from any box that Artista has to offer, and I know I'm going to get something truly special. So, Casey, this is a this or that segment. It's supposed to be pretty rapid fire. I'm going to give you a choice between two things, and you just pick one. So let's start off with a couple of cigars. I think you kind of basically just answered this a moment ago, but morning cigar or late night cigar?
Morning.
Limited releases or core line consistency?
Coraline.
Peated scotch or sherry cask?
Sherry cask.
You got a brand choice on that one? Label choice?
I still really think Macallan 18 is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love.
Prices the price has gone too high for Macallan 18, but it's I still have it. I mean, I still buy it, I just drink less of it.
There you go. Neat or single cube?
Neat.
Really? Okay, nice.
But I'll take one step further. Neat, maybe a thimble of water. I don't like it with it. If I got to put a cube in it, I don't want to drink it.
Gotcha. Going to golf. I know you still play. You play a lot. Prefer to walk it or ride it? Ride.
I would prefer to walk, and not carry my bag. I'm to the point where I remember my dad used to say to me, like, you either need to carry your own bag or you need to quit playing golf. However, I bought him a push cart a few years ago and he uses it. So now I have gone to these clubs that they let you walk and they have like borrowing push carts. It's kind of nice. I did it one day because everybody else in the group did it. I felt weird. I kind of want to do it all the time. However, most golf courses now don't let you push, so you have or walk, so you have to be in a car. Like there's not an option a lot of places. The way
Are you
courses are designed.
are you a member at several courses?
If I was a member at several courses, I would, don't take this the wrong way. I'd probably not be doing an 11 o'clock interview because I would be sleeping and waking up to play golf. I cannot afford to be a member at several courses down in Florida because that's out of my price point.
Gotcha. Was
I am
so.
a public member. I'm a premier member. A premier member is a card you can buy for $400 that gets you discounts at like 12 golf courses.
Well, there you go. Works.
So I am a premier member.
W- What's your what is your favorite round of golf? Your best round at a municipal golf course or your best round at an elite private course that you've
What's
played?
my best round at like my score?
No, like do you like if you like which one was better? Like was your score better at a private course or a municipal course?
My best score ever. I've shot the same score twice, and it was a public course in Vegas.
What was it?
Valley High.
Okay, awesome. How long have you played? I mean, how many times have you played it?
At that point, I played Valley High all the time. I lived in Vegas. One of my
Okay.
buddies was the head pro there, so I would sneak out and play all the time. Um, and you get used to a golf course. You get pretty good at it.
You just answered this. I'm sure what you're talking about, you'd be up playing in the morning and stuff like that. But do you prefer morning tee times versus like a sunset round?
I'll play all, I don't any for me, golf is any tee time is a good tee time.
Would you rather play St. Andrews, Old Course, or Pebble Beach?
Old course.
Gotcha. When it comes to baseball, would you rather prefer a slug to watch a slugfest or a pitcher's duel?
Watch a slugfest.
If you're playing, would you rather be on the winning side, of course, on the winning side of a pitcher's duel or a slugfest?
Pitchers do it for sure. I was a catcher.
Okay, I was gonna say that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just think about
Um,
it. If you go 0 for 4 and you don't commit anything and you win 1-0, you still feel pretty good.
right. What's more hallowed ground for you? Opening day or game seven of World Series?
My answer's changed over the years. It used to be opening day every year. Now it's game 7.
Sure. You played, you know, at the minor league level. That that type of like minor league baseball charm or like Major League Baseball stadium energy. Now I know you never played in a Major League Baseball setting, but
I think obviously I've attended Major League Baseball games many times.
of course,
I think the game attitude now is boring because of the all the new pitch rules and all the new things, and it's fast, it's rapid. I think the energy is kind of dead in a lot of stadiums. There are select stadiums that the energy is out of this world. I would say if you can go to an 8 or 9 thousand person stadium and it's packed and everybody there wants to be there and they're having fun, that's a really, really cool event.
nice. Yay or nay? Banana ball.
I can't say yay to that. I know, and I'm happy that they're growing the game. I should say the exact same thing. I'm happy they're growing the game. Would I go? No.
Yeah, I figured. I honestly thought that was going to be your answer, like both ways. I thought you'd appreciate for what they're doing for the game, but I just didn't think I couldn't see you as a fan of it. No offense, but
Yeah, it's making a sport dumber.
also, in your opinion, just interested.
They're changing their own rules. So like, and it's entertainment. It's not sporting it. It's not sport anymore. You can have a fan that can catch a full ball for an
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
You have different rules. Like they don't have the same rules, and it's fine. But they're
That
making money. They have a business. They're entertaining. They're bringing baseball happiness to a lot of people that
yeah.
probably can't afford to go to Major League Baseball games in those cities
It's a
because
real
they're
it's
doing a
real
lot of
nice.
good things when it comes to like price protecting and the fan experience. It's 2 hours in and out. I think they have a time limit. Um, however, I don't. Maybe I would go. I'm taking it back. You know
Okay.
what? I would go. Here's why. Because I like the fact that they're trying to grow the game because I think the game was dying a little bit.
That's a real throwback to vintage baseball, the fan causing the out, like original rules of baseball, like the a fan could catch a ball, toss it to the fielder, and it would be
Look,
out.
there's also a lot of original rules of a lot of things that are irrelevant today.
True. Fair enough. All right. Well, that was our rapid fire segment. Let's move on to our next segment of the evening. This is our second to last question, Casey. Everybody Eats, brought to you by Pastani Cigars. If you always make sure that your serving style is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pastani Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people, and they embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. Pastania, everybody eats. I didn't know you're such a chef, Casey. I would have prepared a little bit better for this question, but I like asking this question of my guests. I think it's interesting. What's a favorite dish or food of yours that you would not have even tried if you had not been offered to or forced to by somebody else?
I've been pretty open my whole life about eating. I don't know
Okay.
if I've ever been forced food. Um, I just remembered saying, let me try it and I'll tell you if I hate it. I mean, traveling into Japan, trying some unique experiences that was like, let's let the American try our food. And they'd give us me the weirdest that I don't know what it was and I don't know if I ever need to know. But I never want to have it again. I've eaten some stuff. But a food that I like, I mean, I guess I'm gonna go with sushi because I think raw fish as a kid might sound weird.
Yeah.
But I
When
don't
was your
remember
first
being,
experience with sushi?
I don't
How old were you?
remember.
Okay.
I don't, probably 20, early 20s.
Okay.
At Central Minnesota, we didn't have a lot of sushi restaurants.
Yeah. I was gonna say, wasn't
Turns
really.
out, I don't really remember it before my early 20s. And then I remember going to the sushi restaurant every Monday and Friday near my office when I lived in Vegas. Um, and I would eat raw fish, like raw salmon, raw tuna, like all day. Sea
Yeah.
urchin, sea urchin.
Sea urchin.
Um,
Yeah.
what else I mean, anything. I mean, I love it. Fish eggs, love it. Caviar, love it.
Awesome. I love caviar. Yeah, it's expensive, but I love it. It's
It is.
fantastic.
Well, caviar and then also salmon roe, totally different.
Yeah.
But had a bunch of roe this week because she bought some and I was eating it in my hand rolls.
Nice. Sweet. All right. Well, Casey, this is the last question of the evening. And it is always brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. It's our curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park. Count them up. It's been 11 years, 11 consecutive years in the consensus top three. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. Well, it's appropriate that the last question of the evening is a baseball metaphor question here, Casey, for you. So, going back to the new slogan, right? Find your crux, being the crux representing a crossroads in life, career, business, doesn't matter. However you want to define it. You've had a you've had a few pivotal ones, both professionally and just in your life in general. What would you define as your most pivotal crossroads moment?
Oh, that's very easy for me. The crossroads moment of my life that really gave me a trajectory to where I am today was it goes back to baseball. Um, because I would have been selling life insurance had this not happened. I was graduated from college, except for my internship, needed an internship, was driving to buy a vehicle from my buddy's dad's dealership in Minnesota. And I got a call from Fargo Moorhead Redhawks, which was the team that signed me for my first minor league experience in independent ball. And I was supposed to start an internship making $80,000 paid internship with Northwestern Mutual. For a first year, it was a paid internship. I was doing my internship and then as a insurance salesman. And I'll never forget, it was $80,000 and it was a Friday afternoon. That was a lot of money.
Yeah,
2007. It was a lot of money. It
yeah.
was 2007. They were signing me for $80,000. And I was all in. I was excited, but I was going to go to work. As I'm driving to buy this new car, which I don't want to tell what kind of people what kind of car I wanted to buy when I was 22 years old and having $80,000 thinking starting on Monday. But I didn't get that car because as I'm driving there, I got a call from the scout and the assistant coach of Fargo who wanted to sign me a couple games into the season because they had an injury. And I made the decision to sign for $800 a month instead of $80,000.
Okay.
And they did defer that for some time, but I will tell you the best decision I ever made was take $800 a month to play minor league baseball instead of selling insurance. Because you could always go back, but that changed the trajectory of my life. It let me travel the country, let me travel Canada, let me get to play baseball for a living, make some great friends along the way. Uh, I grew up a lot in those couple of years because you were living on your own with new teammates, new families, new people in different cities, and traveling, getting to experience things outside central Minnesota other than vacation. I thought Florida was a place you could go on vacation. I didn't know you could live here. Now I live here. We'd come
Yeah, I was
down
gonna
here with
say.
my dad. We'd come down here with my dad and his team like every couple years for family vacation, like for 5 days, 6 days. And I was like, cool vacation. Why can't we go vacations more? Well, you can just live here, it turns out. They let you do that. But that was the crux of my life. The original one that put me on a trajectory that got me some experience in business, got me to a position in Vegas, and then most importantly, that led into Jeff having the confidence for me to join him with Crux. So
Awesome. I I've got to ask, what's the best game you've ever caught?
the best game,
Yeah.
I have
Did you
no
ever
idea.
catch a no? Did you ever catch a no hitter?
I don't think so.
Surely a
If I,
shutout.
you would think I would remember that if I did, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Um, I can't say I did then because I must not have.
A shutout?
Oh, many, yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't remember those. You play so many games. How do you remember them?
Yeah.
You remember time periods. I mean, when we were playing indie ball, like it was 96 games in 4 months.
God damn.
You know, um, and then you're playing college baseball in Minnesota. You're playing 40 games in 2 months
Right.
because it's Minnesota. And you play every day in April, it feels like. Um, but there's unique games that you remember. The best game I ever caught, I don't know. I remember I remember catching my dad's five at the game. My dad got his 500th win. That was a cool day.
Oh, nice.
I remember, catching in the All-Star game at high school when I played in the Minnesota high school All-Star game. I'll never forget that. First time I ever had a kid that threw 95 to me. It turns out that's a unique experience.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. First pro game, I remember that. That was fun, But best game, I mean, it's hard to say because I don't think that any of them are good. It's always a battle.
Was 95 the fastest you ever caught?
No, no, not even close. We had a guy named Brett Lawson who pitched for us in Fargo, probably 98, 100, somewhere in there,
Shit.
which is funny story. I know we're running late, but you got to hear this story. So the year before Brett played with us, earlier in the season, he played against us. We traded for him. He was in Winnipeg. This is like It's like first and second, two out. No, first and second, nobody out, seventh inning. I'm hitting in the eighth spot because I'm a backup catcher who's getting in, who's not very good, and probably hitting 230. Maybe I think I hit less. I think I hit 205 that year or something. Maybe less. I don't know. But I'm hitting in the eighth spot, bottom of nine. No, bottom of seven, tie game, first and second, nobody out. Lawson's on the hill. I'm batting. Obviously, I'm bunting. You
Sure.
know, baseball people would know. Seventh inning, bottom of the lineup, first and second, nobody out. We're bunting. I'm not the lead out. I turn to bunt, and he throws a fastball that I'm like, oh, perfect. Mid-high fastball. This is going to be easy. Sacrifice. I get my job done. I got to keep my job for another day. You know, this ball, this two-seamer comes off his finger high. I'm turned. It squares me up in the middle of the chest. And
Shit.
I'm not a person that moved out of the way. But this ball hit me just below the sternum between the ribs. A quarter inch in either direction, it either shatters my sternum or shatters my rib. The ball goes straight to my feet. Didn't deflect high, which it should if you get hit properly. I do hold many records of getting hit by pitches because I didn't move, but I've never been hit in the chest,
Right.
like Happy Gilmore style. And I went to the ground and I almost passed out. I got up, couldn't breathe, walked to first base, stayed in the game, and I had a target in a week that literally looked like a bullseye from a dartboard. When I saw, not immediately, that goes going back. I looked up and it was 96 that I Happy Gilmore. And
God
thankfully it
damn.
hit me in the exact right spot. Otherwise, I would have broke a sternum or a rib. But it hit
God
me
bless.
when you're in shape, you have a little bit of muscle, and it hit me in the perfect spot, and I stayed in the game, and we won the ball game because I ended up scoring. We ended up winning. I think it was 10-7. We ended up winning.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
but I'll never forget that. That's telling you much.
God bless.
96 in the
God
chest.
bless.
Happy Gilmore style. I don't want to do it
Okay.
again.
No. Gosh. What the difference between, like you said, you caught 95 for the first time in high school, then you catch someone like Brett Lawson who's throwing 98.
And that was only 95 in the like there was only a couple kids throwing in the low to mid 90s in high school in Minnesota at that time.
Right.
Like this was at the Minnesota All-Star game in 2003. And this kid's throwing 92, 90, no, 93, 94, 95. And I remember being in the bullpen going, all right, you need to throw it as hard as how you're going to throw it. Because I have never, the fastest guy we had threw like 88, 89, you
Right.
know? I don't know if we had a guy that hit 90 on my high school roster, you know? And I'm like, dude, I'm catching you and I need to kind of like give me a heads up. Like, so he says he lets one go in the bullpen, before the game. He's starting, I'm starting. He goes, here, fastball, fastball. I'm like, all right, cool, no big deal. He lied to me. That was not all he had. He threw the first ball, like, I'm surprised it didn't hit the umpire in the face because it was not far above my glove and it hit the backstop.
God bless.
And then I'm like, oh, it only took a couple pitches when you can catch, it didn't take many pitches to get there. I was like, okay, we figured it out. But when you go from 85, like a good fastball in high school was 85.
Right.
Then you go to high school then you go to college, a good fastball is 90. Then you go to the pros, a good fastball is 95 and a great fastball is 100. And the
Yeah.
difference from 85 to 90, not that big a deal. The difference from 90 to 95, astronomical, huge difference. The difference from 95 to 100, we're talking millions, hundreds of millions of dollars those guys are making that are throwing 100
Yeah.
miles an hour. You know how many people throw 95 now in the major leagues? I don't know the stats, but do you know how many of them? All of
No,
them.
yeah, all of them do.
All of them. There's a few guys that throw sub 95.
Yeah, 95 is like their changeup at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 95 is like, hey, that's cute.
Yeah. You've got to have something on it if you're going to throw 95.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know where your question was, but I thought I derailed it and I apologize, but I
No, it's
thought it
all,
would
no,
be
it's a
the
great story.
difference in those fastballs.
No, it's a great story. No, the
The
fastest
difference in
I ever
those
caught was
fastballs are
91.
literally completely different though.
Yeah. I mean, the kids that I caught in high school were, 85 tops, like 80. They lived in that 82 to 83. I caught
Yeah.
91 once. I caught 91 once. My best friend in high school let one rip. Like he was topping out 86. You know, that was usually his first inning was he was, and then he let one rip that I'd never seen before. And I got it, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" And when I went back to the dugout, I asked coach, I was like, "What? Did we have a gun on that one?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "How much was that?" He said, 91. I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah. It's there, it's
That's it.
there. And it's different. It's different.
I mean, that
It's
shit's
different.
ter
And,
that
and
shit's
then you get used to
terrifying.
it. But then you get used to it and you're like, yeah, then like 90 became
Yeah,
nothing.
right, right,
But I will tell you the biggest jump from high school to college and Division III college. So it's not like I went from high school to Division I. Like the step from Division III to independent minor league baseball was a large step. Because we were facing kids in college that were throwing, 88 to 92 pretty much all the time. There's be occasional kid that would high, and there's occasional kid that was low. But like then you're going to kids that are throwing 92 to 95 every day. We're talking about fastballs that I've never seen that I'm facing every day now.
right.
And that's why you get hit in the chest.
What was the best professional professional hitting year you had, like batting average?
Oh, terrible.
Was it
Um,
the 230s, 240s?
no, not even. If I was hitting 230s, I wouldn't have got fired. I think my first full year with Fargo, my on base percentage was solid in my defense.
Okay.
But I think I hit like 196.
Mendoza only
But I
took
think my on
240.
base percentage was like 360.
Yeah, you take that. Heck yeah.
Yeah, but you don't keep your job with 196.
No, no kidding.
But I got hit a lot.
Now you do. There's major league hitters that are fucking batting 200. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I didn't get to stay longer was because I didn't hit for average well enough at 95 to 100 mile an hour fastballs.
And you gotta have pop too at that point. You can bat
But if you
200.
can catch, you don't need to hit.
That's true.
As long as you get on base enough, have a decent average. Like if you hit 240 and you can catch, like you're a great catcher, you can hit 240 all day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Casey, I really appreciate you staying up late, man. This was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much.
You're
It's
welcome.
great, great,
Thank
great
you for
chatting with
having
you. Of
me.
course. Great chatting with you and everything. For all our audience, thanks for staying up late. We do appreciate those likes, shares, and comments. Keep them coming. We do really appreciate it. If you are tuning into us via podcast, whether that be on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, tonight's audio broadcast was courtesy of our good friends at Grand Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. And I do mean review. And listen, I love the 5-star reviews. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to leave me the 1-star review, you got to give me some constructive feedback. To the guy who told me that my audio levels suck, hopefully you're still listening and hopefully they've gotten better. We try to get better. But to the guy who gave me a 1-star review and left me nothing, as I tell you every week, fuck you. Got nothing for you, man. Can't help you. So do appreciate those likes, shares, and comments. If you want to tune into us on YouTube later, as opposed to tuning into us live almost every Sunday night on Facebook Live, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. Our YouTube coverage and our Facebook Live is brought to you by our good friends at Foundation Cigars. Nick Melillo began his career in the cigar industry at the age of 18, working in the cigar shop, the Calabash Shop, in his home state of Connecticut. He went on to work for a well-known company, Drew Estate. He developed some of the most popular blends there. In 2015, he started Foundation Cigar Company to create unique and flavorful cigars that would appeal from everyone from the novice to the most experienced smoker. Check out foundationcigars.com today. And as always, guys, really do appreciate those likes, shares, and comments. Appreciate them. We are marching towards PCA 2026 in good old New Orleans, Louisiana, where I'm sure I'll see Casey and Jeff at the Crux booth. You got a booth number for us, Casey?
Yep, we do have a booth.
Okay. No booth number?
Right in the, it's walk in the door, it's in front.
Perfect.
We got a biggest booth we've ever had in the best spot we've ever had. The number I do not know off the top of my head yet.
Just walk in the door then. I'll see you there.
It is right in front, the main entrance. I think we're second row.
Nice.
You won't miss it. We'll have a very large television screen.
Awesome. Well, we'll be sure to see you there, and keep on watching, guys. Every week we've got some great guests coming up over the next few weeks as we march toward that amazing event in the cigar industry. As always, I'm Barry Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. He's Casey Haugen, Crux Cigars. Guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.